Things can change at any moment. A request for habeas corpus for President Bolsonaro has just been assigned to a rapporteur. Nothing more, nothing less than what Minister Luis Fuchs had already denied for days. Hopefully now, in a new request, Fuchs ended up having access to this opportunity. At a time when Marias, yesterday, ended up denying a request for Fuchs to also participate in the trial of the Disney coup, which is taking place there at the Supreme Federal Court, Alexandra de Moraes' situation yesterday was kind of difficult. Globo, Malu, Gaspar, Lauro Jardim decided to spill everything, and a lot of things are coming to light. They're publishing articles that I hadn't even posted here on Sunday. Now it's available for everyone to see and observe, because they usually keep it closed. I'll show everything here, so hit the like button. There's lots of news and info. From now on, I'm sure you're really going to like the content. Guys, I'm stopping by here before we start in several videos to talk about this product here, Slim Fair. I lost 18 kilos, maybe even more. And it's been a week and a half since I last weighed myself, all in less than 2 months. In 1 month I lost 10 kilos, and in almost 2 months, it's already 18 kilos. Sometimes we have that habit, I always do it. Sometimes there's leftover food from the kid, leftover from my wife, and you go there and finish it. I had already reached 105 kilos. 105 kilos. I'm showing you these images from a few months ago. And one of our followers ended up recommending this product to me. I got in touch with the people, and I'm making it available here because I took it and it helped a lot. Especially since we have to do all that planning to lose weight and everything, sometimes it's complicated. The rush of daily life, it helped me a lot. There are several weight loss programs, each with a free option. I've let go of my fantasies and captioned myself. I had my own experience. You can see, look, my expression has changed. Clothes that didn't fit me anymore. I showed the example of the pants that day, guys. Look at this one too. All of them. And these shorts didn't fit either. None of them fit, right? Slim Fever helped a lot. We lose inches quickly, right? Of course, you also need to have a little willpower, but I'm sure all of you out there who have a goal, right? We'll have it too. It helped a lot. Do you want to have the opportunity to get an amazing product? It's a little powder, effervescent, just so we can finish here. You put it in water after you've had that greasy meal, guys, take it. It's really worth it. Really, it's an amazing product. It worked for me, and I'm sure it will work for you too. Sometimes we find ourselves in a tough situation, right? We want to lose weight, but it's really hard. This product helps a lot. I usually say it's the natural Manjaro, no injections or anything like that. Slim Fever will help you achieve your goal. Guys, it's Globo that's showing this here. Marias' wife has $1 million contract with Banco Master. Let's understand this here, because, look, I believe you must have already seen it in several places. The document anticipated a payment of 129 million reais. 109, 120. It even makes your head itch, right? Your head. And Malu Gaspar ended up revealing all of this here, huh? It caused a stir in the law firms that defend Master. The information that the contract between the bank and Minister Alexandra de Moraes' wife, Viviane Barsi, was seized in Operation Compliance Zero. As columnist Mauro Jardim reported, everyone knew about it, right? Since she was a lawyer for the owner of Banco Master, I just didn't know the amounts were so large. 3,600,000 reais per month. The federal police arrested the bank's controller, Daniel Vercaro, 6 other executives, and seized cell phones and laptops. But what worries Master's lawyers the most isn't really the existence of a contract, but rather the compensation. 3,600,000 reais per month for 36 months, starting in 2024. But what really made everyone suspicious The contract broadly authorizes representation of master as needed and doesn't refer to a specific case or lawsuit. If it had been fully breached, it would have benefited Barça de Moraes' law firm, $129 million, which didn't happen since master went into liquidation. But everything indicates, however, that the law firm was handsomely paid while it was possible. Look, because in the messages with Viver's team, Caro makes it clear that the payments to Viviane were a priority for the bank and could not be missed under any circumstances. In other words, the top priority was to make these payments, and obviously that's clear. The column reached out to Alexandre de Moraes through the Supreme Federal Court's press office, but did not receive a response. The team also contacted the office and master to find out how much was actually paid for the cases, but also did not get a response from the office. A staff member said no one would speak and she couldn't provide an email address for information requests. In other words, not even the email. Man. The audio of Malu Gaspar talking about the case. Let's listen here. It's surreal.
In which, for example, a contract comes to light that is a broad scope contract and a contract with a huge value. Between Banco Master and Minister Alexandre de Moraes' wife.
Yeah, it's Banco Master again, right? This Banco Master file apparently is very fruitful. There's a lot in there to be looked at, and maybe that's why they're trying to keep it confidential, right? I published this morning on the blog the information about the contract value. Our colleague Laura Jardim had already published it since the contract was seized.
Among the information seized there, contract $129 million. Oh my God, man. And here, as you can see, Banco Master and JBS sponsored an event in Paris where Gilmar stated, "If today we have the election of President Lula, this was due to a decision by the Supreme Federal Court. Remember when he said that Lula's election should be the Supreme Court's doing?" The video brings together statements from the Supreme Court Minister, Wesley Batista, thanks from the organizer Daniel Vorkar, and to the brothers Wesley and Wesley, and from the host to these other participants. The date was October 14th, 2023. Less than 45 days later, Lula nominated Paulo Bonet, a former partner of Gilmar, who sold his share in a company they had for 12 million reais to the minister's son. If all this is true, I don't even know what's wrong in this country anymore. But one day this nightmare will end.
If politics has regained its autonomy, I wanted them to bring justice, and if it works out, I think there will be. If today we have the election of President Lula, it's because of a decision by the Supreme Federal Court. It's necessary to acknowledge that.
If we look at our history,
The Wesley brothers,
we are a company that turned 70 years old this year. We started a small business in Brazil and kept expanding, and we went international. We became the world leader in our sector. And Brazil, as President Barroso said, there are few places where you find a democratic country with strong institutions.
I really wanted to thank all of you for being here. Fabinho from Azul, who helped us a lot with sponsorship. To Josely, to Wesley from JBS, to Daniel Borcaro.
from Banco Master, Daniel Borsaro from Banco Master.
And I'm staying with you on this, our second day of the International Espera Forum, before we start our program. I want to thank all the sponsors who joined us on this occasion.
The event sponsors, and you following JBS Freeboy, Sanai, Ciara, also from the brothers Josley, and Banco Master. But the problem in this country is professional. It's Bolsonaro. Today, the trial of Felipe Martins is taking place. The trial where the slide that contained evidence was vetoed by Alexandre de Moraes in a session at the Supreme Federal Court. That had a quote from Zanini. In other words, Zanini stated back in Lula's time that drafts were forbidden, right? Because many times there was no signature and so on. But since it's against Bolsonaro, then everything is allowed. Look at that. So Felipe Martins' defense and Sid's group's defense had already shown this too, right? They even presented a document to carry out a coup. More blatant than this is impossible, folks. It's impossible. Dr. Jeffrey Cicchini brought all the evidence there inside the court today, right? And here we can see Dr. Cicchini was presenting his defense there and everything. Flavio, as I said, even sent the federal police, to remove him from the place where he was. Look, this photo here says it all. The lawyer could be the best lawyer in the world here, but he already knows the outcome. The federal police officer, right? As if it were... Right? Alexandre de Moraes, watching closely. And here, surrounding. Here, as if...
Right?
What's up? Yesterday, Minister Alexandre de Moraes rejected the request to add Fuchs to the coup trial. Because at the time it started, Fuchs was part of the second panel, and the second panel has one less member. Since Minister Fuchs requested the move to the second panel, obviously he denied Fuchs. We know he wouldn't accept this absurdity, obviously. And fate wanted it, so that now I bring to you that Fuchs became the rapporteur of the case that tries to get President Bolsonaro out of prison. This newspaper is from Globo, which isn't truly leftist but opportunistic, and it's reporting this news. Supreme Federal Court Minister Luis Fuchs was named rapporteur for a complaint against the decision, in which Dias-Toffoli denied the habeas corpus filed on behalf of President Bolsonaro. Toffoli rejected the habeas corpus on November the 17th. The lawyer who filed the request is not part of the president's defense team and, according to the minister, could harm his legal arguments and procedural strategies. According to Toffoli, the lawyer appealed, but Toffoli rejected the internal appeal. Immediately after, he determined the case to be final and unappealable, meaning that no further appeals are allowed. The plaintiff filed a complaint seeking to immediately suspend Toffoli's decision to close the case, and on the merits to overturn it for alleged jurisdictional overreach and due process violations. And what about equality? The lawyer's current goal, with a possible reopening of the case, is to force the review of the internal appeal. In the second panel, which includes Fuchs, Toffoli, Gilmar Mendes, Casio Nunes, and Andre Mendonça, the 5 justices. It's in Fuchs's hands now. Look, here's yesterday afternoon's news. Fuchs becomes the rapporteur of this case, which could remove President Bolsonaro. I don't really understand much about legal matters, you know? But it could even end the whole thing, depending on Minister Luis Fuchs's decision. Can you imagine if that happens now, in the next few days? And it's an opportunity with so much coming out on Wednesday, Gilmar, who also argues a lot with Fuchs, right? These days they were arguing. He ruled that no one can request the impeachment of the ministers. A few days later, news came out about Toffoli traveling with the lawyer from Banco Master on the same private jet. But according to Valdo Cruz from Globo, he swears that none of them talked about Banco Master's lawsuits. Lino said it was already another scandal, and now there's this one involving Minister Alexandre de Moraes. Isn't it? It's been a week since Gilmar ruled that no one, except Paulo Gone, former partner of Gilmar Mendes, must determine if it can. There can be impeachment of Supreme Court justices. And we, as Brazilian society, are watching all of this. Perplexed, and no one gives any explanation. No one says absolutely anything about these atrocities that we are witnessing. They say it's normal, that there's no problem at all, but for much less, people have been arrested. President Bolsonaro is going through this situation without ever having taken a single cent from anyone's pocket. Eduardo Bolsonaro in the United States is going through a serious injustice. President Bolsonaro himself was arrested because, as Alexandre de Moraes stated in the investigation involving Eduardo Bolsonaro, he spent months wearing an ankle monitor. In a case where he's not even mentioned, he's not part of the investigation. He was under house arrest for several months. But they also tell us that all of this is democracy, that it's a democracy, that they are fighting for the democratic rule of law, for democracy. Democracy. Yes, it's possible for Fuchs to do that, especially after all these scandals. I think he's the only one. At least in my opinion, the only one. As they say, profound legal knowledge. It could make everything fall apart for these characters. Share this video on WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook, but make sure to hit the like button. Who knows, maybe now is the time. I'll be back soon with more news and information here on the Paes e Filhos channel, Fabiano Guiguet.